day 3, and we're just setting off from Callander, crossing the bridge, admiring the views at the moment. Along a lot of the routes that we're on for this holiday, we're finding these camping management zones. There are various notices along the way. We've seen them yesterday. It seems that to lessen the impact on the environment and sometimes on the local population, you have to apply for, purchase, I think at the great cost of £2, a permit to camp in certain zones, which is a great idea. Well, we've taken a bit of a detour off the traditional national cycle network Route 7 because, well, 2 reasons really. We're going to take a detour to go and see Balquidder and look at Rob Roy's grave, but also coming this way we have a wonderful green corridor, lots of deciduous woodland, and we're away from the noise of the busy route with the cars that we otherwise would have been cycling alongside. So, Rob Roy, hero or villain, seems to depend on what you read about him and where you read it and who wrote it. But a general synopsis that I refuse to be held accountable for is that he was something of a cattle raider, but he was also a cattle drover, and some of his activities within that were legal and some were less than favourable. I also know that he ran a very good, what we'd call now a protection racket, where people would pay him 5% of their rent in order to protect their cattle and retrieve it if it was stolen by other raiders. And it seems he was particularly good at that. If you were paying Rob Roy, you'd be guaranteed to get your cattle back if they were stolen. So it would seem that in 1712, I believe, please don't quote me, Rob Roy was droving some cattle that belonged to the Duke of Montrose. And he also had about his person rather a lot of money that had been invested in his business by various local chieftains. Well, some accounts have it that he, some say one of his men, ran off with the money. And it would also seem that this was a year where the price of cattle had plummeted. So, of course, it was put out for Rob Roy to be arrested. And the Duke of Montrose was particularly unhappy with him. So the Duke of Montrose took it on himself to head for the property of Rob Roy, and he burnt the house down, which left Rob Roy's wife and 3 young children with nowhere to go in the middle of winter. However, the Duke of Argyll, who I assume was some kind of arch enemy of the Duke of Montrose, gave him space on his land to go and set up and live. There was still the issue of the outstanding money. Now, the Jacobite rebellions, uprisings, call them what you will, it came to the point where Rob Roy was involved. Some say he led a battle, some say he was involved in a battle, but for his involvement, he was arrested. Now, he actually managed to escape, it is said possibly with the assistance of the Duke of Argyll, but he was later recaptured, and I think he had to concede to General Wade, if I remember rightly. And on the eve of his banishment to, gosh, where was it? I'm going to have to look that up. We'll flash it up on the screen. Barbados, I think. Anyway, apparently he got a pardon from the king. And Balquidder, where we're headed now, is where he lived out the last of his days. So, Rob Roy's days, well, some say he lived them out peacefully. Maybe he wasn't cattle raiding anymore, and maybe he wasn't fighting battles anymore. But he did get involved in the odd duel here and there. And apparently, his sons seem to have taken over from where he left off. Well, we are definitely in Glen Ogle now. You can see mountains rising to the right-hand side of us. We're halfway up the hills on the left-hand side. In here, the traffic down in the main road in the valley. And soon we're going to be going over Glen Ogle Viaduct, which I think is definitely going to be the highlight of the trip, certainly of today. We've got various of these gates with cattle grid for an entranceway. And I know they're to keep the deer out, but my handlebars together with my mirror mean I have to get off and walk at a jaunty angle, or with my bike at a jaunty angle to get it through. Here comes the jaunty angle. And we're through.
Oh, we meet again. We really just wanted you to struggle with the deer gates.
We did a bit of the West Highland Way this morning.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's just,
On bikes, that's quite challenging.
yeah, deer gate, well, gate after gate after gate.
Oh, right.
Yes.
we've just had a huge and often very lumpy descent. I don't think we'd realised how much we'd climbed to get up to Glen Ogle Viaduct to have that much descent afterwards. It's fun though. Levelled out about here. A little bit of a descent at the end of the forest. Down to Killin, but not a lot now.
Oh, wow.
So this is it. We're arriving in Killin. We've got the Falls of Dochart on our left, which are quite spectacular. And hopefully we'll manage to get some footage.